Top 10 sports with most injuries. Whether it's a friend, a family member, or just someone you've seen on the news, almost everyone's heard of someone suffering a serious, life-altering injury while playing sports. But not all sports are made equal. So, what are the really dangerous ones? At How To Fitness, we want to help you get in shape and stay in shape. Sports can be a brilliant way to do just that, while socializing, working your mental skills, and providing a competitive outlet at the same time. But you need help deciding on a sport that won't send you home in an ambulance. That's why we've put together this list of the top 10 sports with most injuries. We're not saying you shouldn't take part in these sports, but if you decide to do so, you should certainly know the risk involved. Number 10. Motorboat racing. Okay, not everyone agrees that motorsports are real sports, but there's a reason motorboat racing made it into our list. This is one dangerous pastime. With boats reaching speeds of well over 200 miles per hour, one single mistake and the whole craft can disintegrate. In 1986, 7 of drag boat racing's top names died in the space of just 8 months, leaving only a handful of competitors. I'd rather swim across the ocean than get in one of those things. Number 9. Soccer. Well, you might sooner step onto a soccer field than into an 8,000 horsepower drag boat, but you'd be wrong to assume it's altogether safe. Professional soccer players are frequently ruled out of competition due to injury complications built over years of play. The main problem with soccer is that the better your skills, the more of a target you become for hard challenges and professional fouls. Likely injuries include frequent sprains and breaks anywhere in the legs, as well as dreaded cruciate ligament damage. Number 8. MMA. Of course, fighting is dangerous. MMA fights regularly leave competitors bruised and bloodied, and that's if they're lucky. It's not uncommon for fighters to suffer career-ending bone fractures, concussions, and more. You're probably not surprised that MMA made it onto our list. What may surprise you is that, although there have been deaths in MMA, there has never been a single fatality in the UFC throughout its 26-year history. UFC President Dana White defends the sport as safe, citing the usage of experienced referees and medical care to safeguard combatants. Number 7. Rugby. Rugby is the European cousin of American football. It's violent, full contact, and offers more free-flowing action than football's frequent stops and set plays. To top it off, the players wear almost no protection. Top-level English rugby saw 1,534 injuries across 2 seasons from 2002 to 2004, a similar injury rate to the NFL. Long-term players can also suffer from a condition known as cauliflower ear, where the ears just get so battered, so often, they crumble up into a lumpy, swollen flap of, no thank you. Number 6. Gymnastics. Perhaps not the sport you'd most associate with danger, but gymnastics is responsible for over 22,000 injuries to high school athletes each year. It requires putting frequent repeated strain on all the body's bones and joints. Even after uninterrupted, healthy careers, professional gymnasts often suffer long-term consequences from their participation in the sport. Number 5. Hockey. It had to come in somewhere. Hockey is famous for its fights, but they actually cause relatively few injuries in the sport. In fact, some experts go so far as to suggest that blowing off steam fighting reduces the prevalence of dirty play in regular play. Nevertheless, the body checking and blades attached to each foot do cause a large number for injuries. If you find yourself about to hit the cold, hard ice, clench your fist and bring your hands to your chest, unless you feel like losing a finger. Number 4. Basketball. Basketball is a great sport for fitness, and it doesn't carry much risk of severe injury, unlike many of the other sports on our list. In other words, you're not likely to leave the basketball court in a body bag. However, by sheer numbers, basketball is responsible for more injuries to high school athletes than any other sport. That's partly down to its popularity, but also because the frequent twists, turns, and swivels made players seriously prone to knee and ankle problems. Number 3. Boxing. While MMA holds out a pretty decent safety record, particularly at the highest level, the same can't be said for boxing. Although it's fair to point out that a small fraction of professional fights end in knockouts, hundreds of professional boxers have met their fate in the ring. Even those who survive typically suffer sustained injuries in the long term, notably brain damage, which can be present even in those who don't exhibit obvious symptoms. Number 2. Skiing. It seems a little insane. Skiing is often seen as the sport of the wealthy, and yet they choose to risk everything by hurtling down a mountain at breakneck speeds on a couple of fiberglass runners. While doing the snowplow on the beginner slope might not be particularly perilous, at slightly higher levels, the sheer speed of skiing creates a risk of injury. Fall down and you're vulnerable to head injuries, cruciate ligament damage, skier's thumb, and a chance to break practically any of your bones. That's not even factoring in the possibility of half the mountain collapsing on you in an avalanche at any given moment. Number 1. Football. It's controversial, and there are strong opinions on both sides, but there's no arguing with the fact that more than 99% of NFL players suffer permanent brain damage from the sport. The issue of safety in football has been in the news a lot lately, particularly relating to the participation of children. Every parent needs to make their own decision, and life is never without some element of risk. In certain communities, playing football might even help to keep kids off the streets, alleviating other risks present in their lives. So there's two sides to every story. However, the constant physical barrage and repeated collisions so frequently lead to fractures, dislocated shoulders, sprains, tears, and of course, the much repeated risk of permanent brain damage. That's why it just had to be our number 1 pick for this list. Are there any sports you wouldn't consider based on the risk of injury? Let us know in the comments. If you're looking for a sport to keep fit with, take a look at our top 12 sports for fitness. In the meantime, subscribe to How To Fitness and enable notifications so you can get fit and stay safe with all of our latest videos.